Welcome to another virtual author chat at the Poison Pen Bookstore. I'm John Charles, and today I'm delighted to have with us Rosie A. Point, the best-selling author of the new Cranberry Creek Cozy Mystery Series. The Poison Pen does have copies of all three books in stock or on order. If you would like a copy, just give us a call or go online to the Poison Pen. Now I'd like to welcome Rosie.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us today.
Well,
My
thank you
first
for having
question,
me.
my first question for you is, what can you tell us about Rosie before you became an author?
Well, Rosie is actually a pen name.
Okay.
So I write under several different names, including my own. But before I became an author, I actually studied behavioral genetics and human
Oh,
molecular biology.
good heavens.
Which is completely unrelated. But writing was always my passion since I was about 14.
Wow.
And when I couldn't find, I want to say, work with my degrees, I was like, well,
Mhm.
I'll write instead. And that turned out that was an uphill struggle, but
Oh,
eventually it was a success for me. So, yeah.
what was it like getting your first book published?
Well, I actually published my first book myself. I was originally independently published.
Mhm.
So I do both independent and traditional publishing now. And it was very exciting, intimidating, so many different emotions.
Mhm.
But ultimately, it was fulfilling. I knew immediately that this is exactly what I want to do. I want to continue writing and publishing.
Was your first book The Fiesta Burger Murder?
Yes, that's correct.
So
That is correct.
you kind of, it's almost foreshadowing what you're going to do with the Cranberry Creek series because there's some common elements there.
Yeah. Um, it's that I love to write about certain types of characters and definitely food.
Mhm.
I really enjoy writing about food. That's been a passion of mine for a long time. And especially strong female characters I enjoy writing about and small towns. So I've always dreamed of visiting the States, which I'm excited to say I will get to do next year.
Oh, that's
And
great.
yeah, and so I've always written about small towns and researched the different states and enjoyed the experience.
What can you tell us about the first in the series, Murder Among the Stacks?
It was very fun to write, and it's about a young woman who recently got out of a bad relationship and she's moved to this gorgeous small town called Cranberry Creek. And she wants to open her own bookstore and manages to secure this insanely famous romance author who's going to be there doing a signing at her grand opening, which is a dream come true until the author drops dead at the signing. And chaos ensues.
Well, in the tradition of cozy mysteries, she has to become the sleuth because she's become the
Absolutely.
suspect in the case.
Yes, absolutely. That is spot on. And she discovers a lot along the way about the town's residents
Mhm.
and certainly about herself.
Your new series, Cranberry Creek Mysteries, does have something different from a lot of other cozies, and that's the puzzle aspect. Can you talk a little bit about how this came about, what it was like working with someone else to incorporate these puzzles into the story?
Well, I must say that that was all the team at Adams Media, their idea. The whole puzzle concept was from them, and I thought it was fantastic the minute they mentioned it. I was like so excited. What is more exciting than an interactive cozy mystery
Mhm.
reading experience? Because I feel like a lot of readers read mysteries because they kind of want to get involved.
Mhm.
And
Right.
now they get to get involved in the actual experience. So that was amazing. And I didn't get to work one-on-one with the actual puzzle designer, but I did get some insight into how the puzzles were made and how the words were chosen.
Mhm.
And I can't reveal
Mhm.
it, but there's an interesting puzzle at the end of, I want to say, the third book. There's quite an interesting, fun puzzle at the end of that one.
Well, I think it's also kind of neat that you add these puzzles because, in a way, as readers, sometimes we want to race through a story. We're anxious to get to the end. We want to see what happens. But when you have these almost pauses, it kind of forces you to stop for a minute and think about what you're doing and kind of, as you said, become more interactive with the story.
Yeah, it really it gives you time to digest and relax, which I think is the point of a cozy mystery. Keep it cozy and keep it relaxed. And just the perfect type of reading experience for somebody who is looking for a little bit of me time at the end of a stressful day.
Mhm. Um, You've written, I've always enjoyed writing shorter fiction because it's a challenge to get as much across in a short amount of words as possible. And I think that's very perceptive because some might think, wow, it's so much easier to write a book that's 10,000 words or 50,000 words than 100,000 words, but it can have its own challenges.
It really does have its own challenges. I was always drawn to shorter fiction initially because I thought it would be easier, and boy, was I wrong. And then I found it challenging, and I enjoyed the challenge. I enjoyed the challenge of trying to figure out, okay, how can I say more with less words? And I found that by doing that, you actually leave a lot more to the reader's imagination, which
Mhm.
can make the book a lot more interesting to read.
Mhm. In some ways, it kind of reminded me of some of the Golden Age mystery writers like Agatha Christie, because a lot of people don't realize she wrote short for the time period. She wrote like 50,000 words. Other writers were doing 90 or 100. And she was often accused of, incorrectly, I believe, of writing very plainly, that she didn't give a lot of extraneous details, but that was really her secret because she let the reader kind of become involved in that process and fill things in themselves, which is what you're kind of doing. You're setting the scene and inviting the reader in.
Yes, I think any mystery author is a huge fan of Agatha Christie, of course. Um, yes, she did that very effectively. And I would say I have learned a lot from reading her stories
Hmm.
and aspired to do as well in conveying, like leaving breadcrumbs, essentially.
Yeah.
Yes,
What is it? You write cozies. You've written a number of them, possibly more than
yes,
90, I think, at this count. Um,
yes.
what is it about this particular kind of mysteries that you find appealing as an author? Why do you think so many mystery readers gravitate towards them?
As an author, I find them appealing because they're light, very fun to write, and they're a little bit gossipy as well, which is enjoyable. It just is. Everybody likes a good gossip, as long as it's not mean-spirited, of course. And then I would say, as an author, I enjoy laying the clues out and seeing if there are readers who are going to figure it out. And but in a fair way. So I use the fair play rules, Agatha Christie's fair play rules. I don't want to trick a reader and make them feel duped.
Mhm.
So that part I enjoy very much. And for readers, I think it's because there's a sense of justice in reading a cozy mystery that you don't often get in real life, unfortunately. So I
Mhm.
think that it very much draws readers in. And then, of course, just the comfort and the small town, and it feels warm, especially after the pandemic and everything that happened. People felt very like
Isolated.
comforted.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were isolated and they needed that connection.
Mm.
And cozies definitely provide that type of connection.
Talked a little bit about planting the clues. When it comes to sitting down to write a mystery, what does your process look like as an author? Because I've been surprised at the number of mystery writers who say they don't know what's going to happen. They just sit down and hope it all comes together at the end.
So I've used so many different, on the path to finding my way, I've used so many different types of outlining methods, of discovery writing, everything in between. And I've finally sort of settled on outlines that are very short and provide some detail, but if it comes to a scene where I've written something and then the character does something that I find more interesting, like I'm in the scene, I'm writing the scene, and I'm like, wow, wouldn't it be cool if the character did this? Then I will take that thread and run through the rest of the story with it and watch what it changes. And at the end, have to say, okay, I've changed this, I need to foreshadow that, and then go back and correct. But yes, so I'm like part outlining, part discovery writing, sort of meshed together.
I imagine it adds another layer of kind of planning to the process when you're doing a series, because you have to know how things are going to evolve. And have you been surprised? You've written a number of series, including Cranberry Creek. Have you been surprised at book six, like I didn't expect this to happen? Or are you pretty much always in control of where things are going?
Oh no. Sometimes I feel like something's being just delivered from somewhere else. Something will happen. I don't want to sound cheesy or something and say the characters get away from me. Not that that's cheesy,
Yeah.
but um, sometimes, yes, something will occur to me in a book six and or a book one, and I will not realize why I've put that on the page until a book six. And I'll look back at the book one and be like, that's why I put that in there.
Wow. Mhm.
Okay. And I'll use it and then I'll be like, mind blown. I can't believe that happened. And it's from my own brain, but you wouldn't swear it was from my own brain.
Um, there's a comfort to readers in series because they know they can revisit a world they've enjoyed. But is it sometimes challenging for you as an author if you want to do something different, but you're kind of contracted or stuck with a series and you can't just do something that is different from that?
Sometimes that's a I would say that's a fair question. Sometimes it can be. I had one series that I think was 25 books long, and
Wow.
at that point I was like, I can't anymore. Okay, I'm sick of these people. Yeah, I've spent too much time with them, but then went and did a spin-off series anyway with the same characters. So. Yes, there is a certain element to that, but you can always find something interesting to do. So, uh, especially when you're introducing, you'll have like staple characters, but you get to
Mhm.
introduce all these new characters, and you can often have them be a little bit crazy, fun, eccentric, do strange things, and that keeps it interesting. Then I'm fine.
Would you say Myrna falls into that category? Mm,
Yes.
yes.
And a lot of animals. So definitely Sir Reginald falls into the category, and Myrna definitely falls into the category. Some of the supporting cast along the way definitely falls into the category. But yes, Myrna is one of my favorites with her three dogs.
Yes. That's there's a lot of things that I think are key ingredients in a good cozy mystery series. One of them is setting. You've mentioned Cranberry Creek. Is it based on a real place? Is it strictly fictional? How did you come up with that setting for the series?
It's so what I will do is I will Google the state and then I will look at a bunch of small towns within the state. And I'll look at the landscape and the type of trees and what winter and summer and spring and fall are, what they're all like. And I will choose accordingly. So I'll decide I like the state, I like these towns the way they look, and then I'll create something of my own. So it's completely fictional in that sense that it is the whole town is made up, but I will look at images and sort of pick elements that I want. Oh, I want a creek because that will look lovely,
Yeah.
and maybe we can dump a body in the water at some point. That kind of thing.
It must be also, I think, a little bit easier as an author when you create a fictional town because you don't get readers writing to you and say, there isn't a stoplight on the corner of 3rd and Main. You got that wrong.
Yes, definitely. Until you forget where you put
Mhm.
a store and then they email you about it. And then you're like, yes, you're right. Oh no, I should have written that down.
Do you keep it like a series Bible when you're writing, or you do?
Yes, I keep a serious Bible. I have a lovely personal assistant who, because I have so many series,
Hmm.
the ones that I wrote in the past, I did not keep a serious Bible, and sometimes I'll go back to them, and then she will have done a serious Bible. She'll read through them all, and she'll make me a serious Bible. But for Cranberry Creek, yes, I have outlines and a serious Bible and a beautiful map because there's
Oh,
just a gorgeous map at the front of the book.
hmm.
So at each of the books, and that's very helpful.
In a way, that's almost a throwback to the Golden Age mysteries too, because they often had maps for readers to kind of see where things were
Yes.
going on. So that's a nice touch. Um, what you've written a number of books independently, indie published. You're now with a traditional publisher, so you're kind of in that hybrid category. What have you learned now about publishing, about the business of writing that you wish you had known when you were first starting out?
Goodness, that's such a great question. I feel like there are so many things that I've learned that I wish I had wish I'd known. I honestly wish when I had been starting that I had given myself more grace and also that I'd had more faith in myself when I started because I had a serious lack of belief in the very, very beginning and not enough confidence to uh, perhaps reach out with a cozy mystery to an agent, to query, that kind of thing. I don't regret it because I have enjoyed independently publishing. I will say that being independently published is a very difficult path if you are an author who just wants to perhaps write books and doesn't want to be also kind of put a business hat on as well. It is a tough path to take. And it has been very nice to work with the team at Adams Media because of it really feels like I have real support and a team behind me, and it doesn't feel so lonely. That has been great. So I've learned that that is an aspect that I enjoy. I enjoy that a lot.
Um, I think it's also important sometimes aspiring writers, and even writers who are established, don't realize the key importance of a good editor, right in the writing
Yes,
process.
absolutely. That has, I'm glad you mentioned that because that has been my favorite part. That has been my favorite part of the process is working with the editor at Adams Media. I've always wanted that. Like when as an independently published author, of course, I have an editor that I hire that edits the books, but there is a vast difference between that type of editor and the editors that work at publishing houses. Not necessarily in quality, yes, quality, but in the level of feedback that you get and how cooperative it is. It's not like, okay, edit the book. I pay you and I get the edit back and I publish the book after a proofread, beta readers, etc. It's more like we're actually collaborating on the project, and that is a breath of fresh air because I'm the type of person who really enjoys somebody giving me feedback and a little bit of, but why?
Mhm.
Why is that person doing that? Because I know that's going to make the story stronger for the reader, and I really enjoyed that.
In addition to writing books, there's getting them in the hands of readers, which involves packaging them, titles, covers, things like that. Cozies traditionally have kind of a reputation for clever, punning titles and cute kind of covers. What role have you played with the Cranberry Creek books? Are you involved in that at all, or is it strictly something the publisher determines?
So they asked me my opinion. they asked me my opinion and asked, what do you think? For the first book, they were like, what do you think of this title? I thought, that's great. For the second book, they asked me for feedback and almost a little bit of brainstorming, but not too much. So I would say it was minimal compared to how I would create my own titles, but it
Mhm.
was lovely to be involved.
Let's talk a little bit about Rosie as a reader, because you mentioned Agatha Christie, but you write mysteries. Is that what you grew up reading? Are there particular authors, books that have made an impact on you as a reader that made you think, I want to do that to other readers as a writer?
Definitely Agatha. The Murder of Roger Ackroyd
Yeah.
um, was one that I really enjoyed. And I'm trying to think of other mystery writers. I grew up with so many different types of books. So one of the things that I write is fantasy. So I've read a lot of fantasy authors as well,
Mhm.
which helps with world building, interestingly enough, even in a mystery.
Yeah.
And trying to remember the name. Nancy Drew, I read. I read the
Oh,
Hardy
yeah.
Boys when I was young.
Mhm.
I read all sorts of like yeah, Enid Blyton books. I don't know if that counts
Yeah.
as a
They
mystery as well.
wasn't
So
she famous five and something like
yes,
that? Yeah.
yes. So when I was growing up, very much those types of books, fantasy books, and then as I grew older, I would say Agatha was my main inspiration, and then actually some indie authors as well that I read along the way. I don't want to get their names wrong. I think
Mhm.
Diane Harmon was one of them that I read.
Yeah.
I think that's her name. I'm trying to remember the other woman's name. My brain is so full of characters that
Mhm.
characters and plot lines.
That's all you have the space for. Yeah, that's understandable. Um, what you've mentioned that you've written other kinds of books, and I know you've used pseudonyms. Um, is there kind of a double-edged sword to that in terms of some readers only want to read your fantasy books, some readers want to read your mystery books, so therefore it makes sense to separate those kind of literary alter egos? Or in some cases, do you have readers who just want to read everything by you because they come for your voice, which is yours no matter what you're writing?
Yeah. So I would say I delineated apart from the paranormal cozy mystery because it's like a witchy cozy mystery. Pen name, those two have quite a bit of crossover, I would say, with readers. Surprisingly, some of them won't cross over because they
Mhm.
feel strongly about not reading about witchy stuff, which I respect. But those two cross over, so I've sort of shared that readership. But I tend to separate out very strictly and not share my books to, for instance, my cozy mystery readers, just because I know that it's something that they won't enjoy, and because as an independent publisher working on Amazon, I know how the Amazon algorithm works as well, and how that's going to kind of affect each pen name if there's too much crossover from a business perspective. So yeah, I keep them very
Yeah,
separate.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Um, there's a lot of people who will listen to authors who are aspiring writers themselves, and they're looking for any words of wisdom that you might have. So, if you were to talk to a group of writers in training, what advice would you give them?
I would say keep writing, just keep writing, uh, get good feedback as well. So there's no use writing and then not getting the feedback. I
Mhm.
think there are so many successful writers and they all have different processes and different ways they think and write books. But I think that one thing they often have in common is that they're okay with critique,
Mhm.
being rejected. They're able to take it on the chin a lot of the time, and also being a bit stubborn and just saying I'm going to do it anyway. Even though you told me no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to keep writing and I'm going to keep trying. So those would be my words of wisdom. Yes.
They're very good. You've written cozies almost for more than a decade now. There's often reports that cozies are out, they're on the decline, publishers don't want them, that they seem to, reports of their literary death are greatly exaggerated, to paraphrase someone. But what do you see as their future? Because I'm surprised at they're kind of branching off in different directions.
Yeah. So I would say, look, Book Talk has been a huge shakeup in the publishing industry and for authors as well, especially because a lot of independent authors can respond quite quickly to changing trends as well, because they just have less of a lead time than traditional publishing does. I would say that cozy mystery is not going anywhere anytime soon. It will always be around, just like the book industry. They've been saying, "Oh, books are dying" for years upon years. They've been saying that, and that's not happening. Not while there are still readers left. I think you're going to see a lot more mashups, a lot more cross-genre, just like with witchy cozy mysteries or paranormal cozy mysteries. We're starting to see a lot more. I've seen some authors who want to do sci-fi cozy mysteries or monster horror cozy mysteries. I don't know how they're going to pull that one off, but I've seen because fundamentally a cozy is meant to be cozy, but I've seen a lot of a crossover. So I think you're going to see a lot of very interesting exploration from authors.
Hmm. Speaking of what's coming next in the industry, what can you tell us about what's coming next for Rosie as an author?
Well, Cranberry Creek.
Hmm. We've got
So,
Murder Among the Stacks, Murder by Muffin.
yes, yes.
Another one coming
Murder
relatively.
Before I Do.
Yeah.
That is coming, I believe, in January, which is very exciting. And then I do have some independently published works that are coming as well that my readers will be looking out for, including one that's sort of, I want to say like a little Kitchen Nightmares spin with like murders. So there's something interesting, I guess. But yes, what I'm most looking forward to is just more of Cranberry Creek. And I've been seeing the response from my readers, and it's just been fantastic. They're enjoying it, posting pictures in my Facebook group, showing off their word searches, and it's been so fun.
Well, that's wonderful to hear. There'll be more in the series and more of Reggie because he was my favorite character in the books.
You're not the only one who said that. I love a
Uh,
quirky cat.
yes. How can readers learn more about you and your books? What social medias are you on?
Well, so they can check me out on Facebook. I have TikTok. I I have Instagram, and of course, if you go to Simon and Schuster, you will also find me on their website as well with links to all the books and all the Cranberry Creek books. I think that's all of them.
Mhm.
Yes, I think that's all of them. And then my website, of course.
Website. Yeah, you have a great website. I
Thank
can't
you.
believe how quickly our time has flown by. We've been very fortunate of the Poison Pen to have with us today best-selling author Rosie A. Point, whose new Cranberry Creek mystery series has just come out, and we'll be adding to it. The first is Murder Among the Stacks. We do have copies here. We'd love to put them in your hands if you're looking for a new cozy. I'd like to thank Rosie for taking time to join us today and sharing her thoughts. And for those of you tuning in virtually, thank you for joining us for another chat at the Poison Pen Bookstore.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.